We'll go ahead and get started then. Welcome and thank you for joining our Job Searching with Google series. Today's class is job tracking with Sheets. Today's program is a hybrid program, so we'll be working with attendees both here in the library and online. My name is Jess, and I am a library services representative with the Plano Public Library. Here in the room, I'm joined by my colleague, Jamie, and she is also doing the moderating of the online call. So she's available to help troubleshoot technical difficulties, and she'll be moderating any questions we get in the chat. Before we begin, I need to let you know some ground rules that we have set up for today's program. Our virtual attendees will be muted and have their video blocked. During the program, you will only see the instructor's screen. At the top of your screen, you can find an exit full screen option if you need to get to other things in your computer, including your Google account. You're welcome to ask questions or request that I repeat information at any time during today's program. For our virtual attendees, you can use the chat or the Q&A features available in Zoom. You should see icons at the bottom of your screen. For our in-person attendees, we ask that you raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. We will repeat all questions that we received so that everyone has the context of that question before moving on. Also, a recording of this program will be available in a few days on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to follow along with your own Google account, we encourage you to do so. Please keep in mind that it will be difficult for us to give one-on-one assistance or troubleshoot, but we will do our best. I'll try to take it slow in case you are practicing along with me today. A final note as we get started today, I need to remind you all that I am a library services representative. I am not a job search expert. The information we're sharing today is designed to be an overview and to help you connect with additional resources that may be helpful in your job search. Your specific approach to job searching will vary depending on a variety of factors, including your overall goals, career field, and experience level. The goal for today's class is to explore using Google Sheets to track your job search activities. We'll outline the products available freely through Google Workspace and their applications for job seekers. We'll also review the navigation, use, and basic features of Google Sheets. Then we'll talk about finding, downloading, and customizing our files for specific needs. Today's class does build on our other classes in this program series. We have previously covered Google Drive, Google Calendar, and Google Docs. Recordings of those classes are available if you'd like to review that information. That's on our YouTube channel as well. Because we're focusing on Google Sheets for job tracking, we won't cover features like calculations or charts in today's class. Okay. Anybody have questions about the ground rules? Okay. For today's class, we are continuing to follow our imaginary patron, Sarah Rockefeller. Sarah, at the age of 60, has recently suffered an unforeseen layoff. Sarah has a work history of working in the technology sector, but has decided to take this opportunity to switch to working for a nonprofit. So far, Sarah has used Gmail to create a professional email account, used Google Calendar to organize her appointments, and used Docs to create a resume. Today, she'll be using Google Sheets to create a spreadsheet to track her job search activities. So, what is Google Sheets? Google Sheets is a web application for spreadsheets similar to Microsoft Excel. You can create and edit documents in a web browser or the mobile app. Today's class will cover the web version. You must have a free Google account to utilize Sheets, which can be accessed directly through the Sheets interface or through your Google Drive files. You can also use the application to edit Excel documents directly or convert them to Sheets format. And you can also convert Sheet to Excel files. Google Sheets is commonly used for things like budget spreadsheets, task lists, project plans, or analyzing data with charts and filters. Today, Sarah will be using Sheets to track her job search activities with a spreadsheet. So there's a couple different ways you can make a spreadsheet from Google Sheets. You can do it from the Google Sheets homepage or from Google Drive. Today, we will start with looking at her Google Drive. This is Sarah's Google Drive account. You go over, you're able to hit New over here in the top left corner and create a new Google Sheet. And that just pulls up a blank spreadsheet in Google Sheets. Okay, you're also able to, if you go to the Google Apps menu on the side, if you scroll down a bit, Sheets is there. And from there, you're able to create a new blank sheet or look at some templates to see if they have something that helps give you a starting point for whatever you're trying to use Google Sheets for. Once the spreadsheet is created, the spreadsheet is accessible through any internet browser using either Drive or Sheets. So on Drive, go back over here. We give it a second to process. It'll note that it's in here somewhere. A Google spreadsheet will be over there, as well as you're able to see it on Sheets existing spreadsheets. While Sarah would like to use a spreadsheet to track her job search, she's overwhelmed with the idea of just creating her own. Instead, she'll be using a template that she found online. There are several templates for job search logs available online. You can find some of them by doing a quick Google search, or they're often linked from popular job searching websites. Templates are a starting point, and depending on how they're set up, they can include features like headings, formatting, and other information that you may find helpful. You can always customize the template that you use to your specific needs. When choosing a template, you want to look for features that make sense to you. Sarah has found a template online from The Muse, a popular job search website. She'll be saving a copy of this template and customizing it for her job search. So we go over here, themuse.com advice/job search spreadsheet track application, which has this article here. And if you scroll down a bit, they offer their customizable interactive job application tracker. And if you click on it, it'll send you to their copy of this template. Now it's currently set to view only, and that's so a bunch of random people on the internet can't change their template. But if Sarah wants to make her own copy so she can use, go to File, make a copy, and then Sarah's copy of my job search tracker from the Muse. It's going to be saved in her drive, and we're going to hit make a copy. And now Sarah has her own version of the template that she is able to edit with all her job search information. Okay. Before getting started with her worksheet, Sarah takes some time to get used to the Google Sheets interface. The navigation is similar to other Google Workspace products, but there are some different features unique to creating spreadsheets. We'll review everything approximately from the left to the right of the screen. To return to her Google Drive homepage, she will need to navigate to the tab that she was originally at. Each file that she opens its own tab, so then you're quickly able to jump back to the drive where you started. And if she needs to return to the Google Sheets homepage, she can click on, she just needs to go, this will take you straight to Sheets, right here, on the icon in the top left while you're working on a spreadsheet. By default, any new spreadsheet is named Untitled Spreadsheet. For those that Sarah has copied from another source, like a template, it will likely have a template name. Both of those can be changed by clicking in this box up here to rename her spreadsheets and make any edits to its existing name. So like, say she doesn't want tracker included in that, so she can just get rid of it. And then she clicks away, and that's saved as the new name. The toolbar menu is the first menu visible under the file name. It begins with file and ends with help. It includes options to edit and modify your spreadsheet. On this toolbar, menu choices are grouped by task type. For example, she'll find options to format her text under the format menu. To use the toolbar menu, Sarah will first select her menu and then choose the desired action. So if you click on one of them, a bunch of options will jump down, so you're able to choose the many different things that are grouped under this tab. All documents created in the Google Workspace save automatically to the cloud. Sheets will automatically save changes periodically while you work, and you can check the status at any time by looking at this little cloud icon here. If a change is made, and for a moment that isn't a cloud with a checkbox, and then after it finished saving, it returned to a check mark. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Okay. We're just covering a lot of information real quick, so I wanted to check in. The shortcut toolbar is located underneath the toolbar menu. It includes a bunch of convenient shortcut buttons for things like formatting. Includes commands that anything that's here, this is just shortcuts to things that do exist in the menu already. The formula bar, which is this space right here, right after the FX, can be used to enter or edit data, functions, and formulas in a specific cell. Sarah can use it to see a preview of the data available within a cell in her worksheet as well. Each spreadsheet is made up of rows, columns, and cells. Rows run horizontally and are identified by numbers. You can see all the numbers of the rows on the left-hand side. Columns run, they're vertical and are identified by letters. So up at just below the formula bar, you can see all the titles of the columns. Each rectangle, which is an intersection of the row and the column, is called a cell. And it is referred to by its row and column. So in this top, right next to the formula bar, I'm in cell C10, and so that's what's next to that there. Cells can be grouped together in ranges and can include content like text, numbers, formatting, attributes, formulas, and functions. Okay. So each cell has its own address, which is just its column and cell. Within each cell, Sarah can include text, formatting, and formulas. The text can be letters, numbers, dates, or any other similar information. The formula refers to attributes that change how letters, numbers, and dates display. For example, adding formatting can cause numbers to appear as percentages instead of just a plain number. It also refers to design elements like background color. Formulas and functions are tools that can calculate cell values, like adding up all the value in a group of cells. Okay. We want to enter something into a cell. Say we want to put in a new company name. Able to just click on that cell, and you're able to just start typing. And then you click out of that cell, and you're done entering into that cell. And I now randomly clicked to C8, and I can just keep typing there. Just every time you click on a cell, you're able to jump into putting information into that cell. If you need to delete the data in a cell, you can just click on that cell and then hit the backspace or delete key on your keyboard, and that will remove the content of the cell. It's also possible to use the copy, cut, and paste functions to move data around in the spreadsheet. To copy, we'll just do a brief overview of the copy, cut, and paste. Copy will duplicate. It generates a copy and you can paste that somewhere else, but the original will stay there. If you choose to cut instead, then the original will be removed, and then the new place you put it will be the only place that content is. And with either of those, you can copy or cut and then paste to a new location. So this is copy. I hit Control C, and then I hit Control V to paste. And now we have 2 copies of it. If I wanted to have a space, actually, I can do Control X, which is the cut command, and then Control V to paste. And now I've created a gap. If you want to only paste certain elements like the value, you don't want any of the formatting to transfer, you can use the paste special option from the toolbar, which is all the copy and cut commands are also available under edit, the edit menu in the toolbar. So paste is just copying everything, and then paste special lets you pick what part of the cell you are pasting. As she adds text, Sarah may find she needs to adjust the width of her column or the height of the rows. For example, Oz the Great and Powerful was too long for one cell. So if we need to change the width of a column, say, you're able to, if you hover over the gap between 2 columns, you click, you wait until you see that 2 lines with the arrows, you click and you drag, and you can change where the end of that column is. You can also double click on the row. Double click here. Yes. So if you wait for the bars to appear and then you double click on that barrier, it will auto size it to the text that is included in that column. If you wanted to modify all rows or columns, you can hit the select all button just below the formula bar, which is this right here, this little blank space that has nothing in it, that selects everything. And then you can use that to modify all the rows and columns. So that expanded all the rows, all the columns widths. Oh my. Having fun with formatting. Okay, and then you click any cell to get out of selecting everything mode. All right. So this spreadsheet is set up to track Sarah's progress in her job search. The general information section includes her next step, the company where she located the position, and the link for the job posting. Next step, company where she found it, and where she found it online. Her next step auto updates here based on the information that is entered in the spreadsheet further down the row. This, if we scroll further over, the pre-interview section includes all information about the initial research Sarah did about the job. So like the date that she applied for it, if she's done the research, if she sent a follow-up email, and what day she sent that information. Further down, we have interview number 1, which has the date of the interview, and then things like sending a thank you note and the date and any follow-ups that you need to send. And then there's space for multiple interviews and also for if there's some sort of outside assessment that needs to be taken for the job. Not every job will fill all of these categories. The template is meant to be flexible, and then it gives you many options for tracking the information that you need. Finally, at the very end, there's a notes section, which is for any additional information that's not captured in the other chunks of the template. This might include specific details on the next steps, or observations from research or interviewing with the company. The spreadsheet also has some built-in features to make it easier to view and use the information. First, the panes are frozen. So if you've noticed while I've been scrolling through the various interview chunks, the general information section hasn't moved. That's because a setting is set up so that these panes are frozen. They are frozen in the position that they're at so that you always know what the next step is, which company, what job posting we're talking about. If it's not frozen, then that gets lost as you search to the right, and you might have to scroll back to get that information. The top rows are also frozen to keep so that if you scroll down, if there's a bunch of job postings, the information on what's contained in each column stays in view. Sarah can freeze and unfreeze these columns at any time. To unfreeze, we just need to go to View, look at Freeze, and then we select no columns or no rows. So I hit no rows, and then the freezing on the top 2 rows that existed is gone now. Now, if I scroll down, those column headings go away as I scroll down. And then refreezing them is very similar. You're able to set how many rows down you're freezing. We'll go 2 rows, and now once again, the first 2 rows are once again frozen, so they come down. And the columns are done the exact same way. In View, Freeze, you'd look at the column section instead of the rows. Formulas are what's being used to make this template auto update. We won't get into the specifics of writing formulas today, but the formula is what is telling the next step column what the next step is. So I put in the company name, and it's like, oh, you've discovered a job. You haven't put anything else other than the company name, though, so your next step is probably to apply. There's also some data validation going on further down the rows under the apply. There's options yes, no, and NA, which the data validation prevents you from putting something that the formula doesn't understand. So if I put yes, then it updates to the next step. If I put no, then I believe it would just be you've just decided not to apply. And then NA means for some reason this doesn't apply anymore. But if you put something like, oh, I don't know, then the formula is going to be like, what does that mean? What does I don't know mean? And then it wouldn't know what the next step is. So the data validation prevents things that don't make sense to the formula from being put in cells and breaking the formula. There's also conditional formatting in play. You'll note when I went to no, that cell turned red. So the conditional is that if the apply option is yes, then it will be green to show that everything's good. If it's no, then it's red to indicate that, oh, you haven't applied yet. You want to look at this. It draws attention to it. But all of this together helps Sarah see quickly what still needs to be done and what has been accomplished. Are there any questions so far? Okay. All right. So you can customize this spreadsheet to your needs. For example, knowing when a job is posted can be really helpful. Um, this template already has spaces of when the job was found and when it was applied for. But now let's say we want to add a column for when the job was posted. So we have a better idea of company response time, priorities, and what applications should be focused on first in our list. We can add a column to give each job posting a date posted section. Before we put in a column, though, it is important to note that inserting, deleting, and moving columns can cause issues, especially while using a template. You want to be aware of things like the formulas, and because they reference cells based on their position, and sometimes adding columns or rows in specific places might break the formula. Okay, we're going to start here. I'm going to click on the column where the date that the job was found is. So we're going to right click. We're going to choose to insert one column to the left. And now we've got an extra column that it kept the same background colors that we can put date job was posted. And now we can see like, oh, this job was posted at the beginning of April instead of the middle of April, which is when we found it. It can help to know if a job posting was really fresh when the application went in or if it's been up for a couple of weeks or a month. Okay, so we just added a column. The same thing would apply for a row. You just pick the cell, the row at which you want to put a space above or below. You right click it, and then you can choose to put a row above or below where you were. Okay, so if we go up here, we can choose to put a row above. And then in this first cell, we can give it a title. Say it says my job search. Okay. So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but wrapping text and merging cells are two options that can help you view your data on your spreadsheet a little bit easier. Wrapping text means that instead of continuing across, the text carries into additional lines based on the width of the column. This happened automatically when we inserted Oz the Great and Powerful. It auto-wrapped because it's like you need to see the whole name of the company. But this is a formatting option that we can choose. So like this, so with under the job posting column, the example, which is because this template came from the Muse, the example is the Muse. It kind of just, you can't see the whole URL because this column doesn't have wrapping enabled. So we'll go ahead and this column's already pretty wide, so we'll choose to wrap it instead of making the column wider. We've selected the cell that we want it to wrap in. Format, wrapping. So under format, we have wrapping, and then we can choose to wrap. I think because this is just one giant word, it doesn't want to do that. Put space here. No, okay. Column, we'll try format, wrapping. Okay. Go over here. So now this column has word wrapping enabled on it. Just the URL didn't want to cooperate for some reason. Here we go. And enable word wrapping here. Oh, it's too wide. Okay. So this one has that too wide. We've clicked that cell, insert, wrapping. We want it to wrap. Then it should auto size, but it wraps again. Okay. We can also merge cells to have information display across multiple rows. For example, in the general information section, this is all one giant cell from 2A to 2C. It's been merged. So we can do a similar thing to the My Job Search column up here. So we'll just select the 3 cells that we want to merge together, format, and merge cells, merge all. And they become one giant cell that are all merged together. Whenever you merge a cell, only the content in the topmost leftmost cell will be saved. If you try to merge and other information is in the other cells you're merging that cell with, the other information will be lost. You only get to keep the information that's in the topmost leftmost cell, the first one. Okay. And we've been dealing with a lot of default formatting, but you can change that using font size. If we want to make this bigger or smaller, that's the font size there. You can choose a different font. The default is Nunito, but you can choose that. You can decide you want it to be Georgia. You can pick anything. The template comes with a lot of pre-done stuff to have everything have a unified look, but you can change that to be whatever you want. And you can change it across the whole spreadsheet by selecting more than one cell, or you can just pick one cell at a time. Same thing with text color. That's the right next to the bold, italics, and strike through. There's a text color there, so we can decide it's orange. You can again bold it, italicize it. You can change the alignment within it. It's currently center aligned, but if you go to this on the shortcut toolbar here, you can change, you can have it be left aligned, you can have it be right. And then something that's all pretty similar to the way Google Docs does their formatting, but if you want to have it, there's a couple things that you can change that are pretty unique to Sheets, which is the cell borders and the fill color. So, right, click here. This is this little square thing. This little 4 squares stuck together is the borders, and you can choose the color for the border as well as what type of border you want. Because I've only selected one cell, outer borders just gives that cell a line. I just put the line outside the whole cell. If you select more than one, then you're able to pick so that there's borders within all the cells, or if there's just one on the left or none, it's flexible. And then the fill color is right here next to it. You can choose what color is within the cell. You can make it orange or any other color you want. Blue. Okay. And then if you ever make a change that you don't like, you can always hit the undo button, which is also on that shortcut toolbar. Okay. And then, so now that we've made the spreadsheet look how we want it to look like, it's ready to be used to insert sample jobs. Are there any questions so far? Okay. Sarah now has a spreadsheet that's ready to go for tracking her job search activities. There are a few more things that she can do with the spreadsheet as she continues her job search journey. Sarah might choose to continue the spreadsheet, or she might choose to make a new copy of the spreadsheet each month, just to keep things organized. Google Sheets allows her to work with multiple worksheets within the same workbook file. So to create a new sheet within this existing workbook file, down at the bottom here, you're able to hit this little plus sign, and you end up with a new blank sheet. So that lets you add a new blank sheet to the workbook, because this is still considered the same file. But that new sheet doesn't have any of the formatting that we just worked on or anything else from the template. So if we wanted to make a copy of a duplicate or exact copy, we can click on the tab that's there, and we can choose to right-click it to pull up this menu, and then we hit duplicate. And that makes a copy of, this was the original, and this is the copy. If you want to rename it, you can right-click again and hit rename. Say this was September progress. This progress in the past. So now we have all that information. It's still saved, but it's been separated. And then once you're done changing the name, you just click out to finish putting your change in place. And then to jump between sheets, you just click on the little tabs down here to jump between the different tabs. And then if you want them to be in a different order, you just click and drag. So if we want my progress to actually be last, we can move it to the very end. Okay. If there's a sheet that's no longer needed, can be deleted by sheet and hitting delete. It puts up a warning to make sure that you are confident that you want to delete the sheet. But if you hit OK, that blank sheet that we made that we didn't actually need is gone now. Okay. If Sarah wanted to print a copy of her sheet so that she can review it offline or show it to someone else to help her out, she can choose the File menu. And then if you scroll all the way down, which isn't even shown default on my computer, at the very bottom, it's Print. And you're able to get a preview of the printed version of the spreadsheet. You can either print the current sheet or the selected cells or the whole workbook. So I didn't select anything before jumping into the print menu. So the only thing that's selected is one cell, which probably isn't what she wants. But also she doesn't need the whole workbook either, because that's just 2 copies of the same information at this point, because we just copied the spreadsheet. This, you can select arrange, and then if you go to File and Print, now this is the default current sheet, but if you go down to selected cells, now it's only looking at the part that we selected. And then you're able to print just that. And then you can change the page orientation, paper size, the scale, if you want extra wide margins or normal margins, as well as some more advanced formatting, like if we want to show the grids in the middle, or if we want it to just be a space if there's no grid lines. If there's any notes, if you want to print those notes, and then headers and footers. Okay. And then once you're done, you would hit next and then print however you print, either at wherever the location you're printing is at. So if you're at the library, you'd follow the printing there, or if you're printing at your home computer, then you follow whatever prompts you usually use to print. If we wanted to download a copy of the spreadsheet so it can be edited without using the internet, you can go to File, go to download, and then you can choose the format that you're downloading the document in. Oftentimes, the most common ones you'd be downloading as are either Excel, which can be opened then in Microsoft Excel and edited there, or as a PDF, which will preserve the formatting and make it. You would only really want to do that with a finished version. If you plan on making changes in the file you're downloading, you don't want to choose PDF because PDF just, it's for printing. It's very hard to make changes in a PDF. So that's like a final copy send off. If you're going to continue to make edits, you want to choose something like the Excel or one of these other ones here. Okay. And then if Sarah, say, is considering working with a job coach, the job coach might want to see this spreadsheet as well. She'd like to share her spreadsheet so that her coach has access. So she can use the collaboration options that Google provides. So you can hit the share button in the top right corner here. And you can wait for it to load. And it lets you add people to who can access the document. You can choose if only people who have the link, only people who you specifically invite, or only people with the link can edit it. And then once you've chosen the people who you want to share it with, you can adjust the permissions. You can make it view only, so the person you're sharing with can only see it. You can make it so they can comment on it, but not edit it themselves. Or you can change it so that they have editing permissions and they're able to update the document as well. Okay. Any final questions on what we're doing in Google, what we've done in Google Sheets today? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. This concludes today's class on job tracking with Google Sheets. As we wrap up, I'd like to share just a few more resources with you. We do have a handout available for today's program. We have copies in the back of the room for those of you attending in person. And for those online, we can include a link in the chat. If you need to access one of the handouts from our previous sessions, please reach out to library staff and we can set you up with that as well. As a reminder, we had 3 other programs as part of the series: Getting Started, Deadlines and Tasks with Calendar, and Resume Design with Docs. You can view the virtual recordings for these and other programs on the Plano Public Library YouTube channel. We have a few more career classes upcoming this season that may be helpful in your job search. Job Resource Connection meets every other week at the Harrington Library. These workshops are led by professionals and give you the opportunity to network, learn new skills, and find support for your job search process. The next meeting is on March 4th at 6:30. And we also have Computer Skills PDF Basics, which will teach you how to navigate PDFs, edit text, add signatures, and save changes for PDF uploading. That class meets at the Haggard Library on March 9th at 3 p.m. and then again at April 28th at 2. We also have Create Your Elevator Speech, which will help you learn how to communicate who you are, your idea, or how you can benefit a company or organization in a way such that any listener can understand it in a short period of time. This class meets at the Haggard Library on March 19th at 6:30 p.m. If you have a short question you'd like a library staff to answer, you may submit it online at any time using our Ask a Librarian service. A librarian will usually respond within 48 hours with the information that you need. If you want more one-on-one help for a longer period of time, about 30 minutes, and have the chance to go over your specific questions, you can complete a Book a Librarian appointment request. Each session is tailored to your specific needs and they work with your schedule. For more tips and tricks for using Google Workspace, if you want to learn more, you can check out LinkedIn Learning and Udemy for online video tutorials and exercises. You have access to both of these resources for free with your Plano library card. All right, and that concludes today's program. Last call for questions if there were any that didn't get caught. Last time I forgot to ask it all. This time I'm just like, here, do you have any questions? All right. With that, our program is complete. We're going to stay in here for a little bit longer to give people time to pull the links from the chat and just hang out. But that's it for today.
The records and your source box. Source box is probably the most valuable tool, in my opinion, because it allows you to save a collection of all sources that you have an interest in and have them in one easy location. I'll open it up here real quick so you can see it. Now, I've done a terrible job of organizing mine. You can see I've got 300 sources altogether, and I've only put a few in some folders. You can get really detailed with your organization, and you can also search for titles. These sources are ones that I came across that had multiple people that I needed to connect to, but I'm trying to think of a great way to explain this. For the most part, when you get a record, you have to attach a person one at a time, and it can be very time consuming to do. When you have the source saved, you can easily attach it to multiple people at a time straight from the box. So this is a handy way to attach sources to multiple people that happen to be mentioned in a document. Fairly commonly, that's going to be like the census records where you have an entire family listed, or marriage records where you've got the parents of each side listed as well as the bride and groom. So it's handy to be able to save it here and not have to look it up each time you have to add a person. So handy tool to have. So let's get into actually navigating the different sections here. So at the top, we have our menu. And the first section is, of course, the family tree. Overview really just tells you what the family tree is. I'll open it up just so you can see it, but it's basically explaining, what you're having access to, why you should use the tree. It does have a little bit of information about how you can work with others and that sort of thing. But if you want to actually get to the tree itself, you want to click on the tab here, or from here, click on the drop down for the tree. So this will open up the shared tree that I mentioned earlier. So from this tree, I've got myself and my husband up here and our different branches. We're bouncing a little bit farther back just because it's got some interesting stuff here that we can look at and refer to. So in the tree view here, you have some options. Right now I have this in landscape view, which is accessible up here at the top. You can also do portrait if you'd prefer to have it drop down. There's also a fan chart, which has more of a visual effect. Here, I'll just open it just so you can see it. So you can kind of see how the different generations filter down, which is kind of cool. There's also a few settings that you can change, like the number of generations it goes back and what kind of information is shared on that little tile there. Home will always take you back to your personal profile within the family tree. That's kind of considered your starting point. And you can also recenter it on a particular person. And then full screen is an option to get rid of these two bars up here. It's not a true full screen, but it does give you a little more room to work with in your tree. You can also zoom in and zoom out on people. There are a couple of other options. Let me toggle out of full screen here. Descendancy focuses on, as it sounds, kind of your lineage. So for like me here, I can expand it to see the family members that extend. You select a person, and you'll see how the descendants come from that particular person. And you can also do first ancestor. First ancestor is kind of a unique take. It follows a specific line through the family tree, and you can trail that down and go through the generations. It's most helpful for cultures that have a strong patrilineal or clan kind of approach to record keeping. Very useful, for example, like if you have Native American heritage and want to apply for membership to that particular group, a lot of times you'll need to be able to show your connection through a strong line. And so that's one way to do it. And you can also print that out. That's available up there. So we're going to switch back to landscape because that's my preferred way of navigating. There we go. Popped back. Okay. Let's see. So anything else to share about this particular view here? Oh, and if you are working in a browser like I am, if you double click, it will zoom in. That's just an automatic what it'll do. If you need to zoom back out, you can come back up here and zoom out. Scroll wheel will move you up and down. So once you get into like bigger aspects of your tree, that can be handy to navigate. Or if you've decided to zoom in really close, you can scroll to see more of the tree. This little arrow here is what lets you open up the next generation of that particular tree and continue traveling down your tree line. So as far as connecting people onto your tree, when you create your profile, you will have your name, and then you can add a spouse. You can also add children, and since these are already here, it doesn't show it, but if I didn't have the parents here, it would have a add parents option for you to fill in, and that would be your starting point for adding people to your tree. You can also do so from the person view. So when you click person, this will take you to the what I call the profile of that person. So this one is one of my ancestors, Richard Anthony Martin. You can see I've got 18 sources related with this person. And if you're wanting to add people related to this person, you can add down here under family members. So if this person had an additional spouse, you'd be able to do so. If you have children that don't have a known mother, there are a lot of options. You can also add parents, so like step parents and that sort of thing is an option as well. On the side here, you have research help. So this is the same information that you see from our landing page where the hints are. If there are any of those hints that apply to this particular person, those will show up here. I'll have to see if I can find an example of that to show you. For record searching, they have a direct link to family search, which takes you to the same stuff up here, but there are external links as well of some of our top known ancestry searches, as well as, Google, why not? If anybody's made notes about this person, like they have details that they don't have verifiable facts for, you can access that and add notes and review notes there. And you can see who has done stuff on this particular record. You can see that relationships were deleted, sources were attached, that sort of thing. And you can actually see all of them for a particular file. It goes back the whole way. So that is available there. I see a fair number of comments in the chat. Is there anything I can address specifically?
I'm sorry, my mute button was buried under stuff. I'm trying to type and answer some things.
No worries. No worries.
We're all good for now.
Okay, cool. So this is the detail view, and that tends to be the default, but you can also go to About, which kind of gives you an overview of all of the different tabs for that person. So there's a brief history that kind of summarizes all of the details that you have here and puts it into a written life history. As you can see here, it says it's computer generated and it's based on the details tab. So kind of outlines that there, shows you family members, direct ones of the nuclear family, as well as other family members, his parents and siblings, some attached sources, kind of a quick view of a few of them, and then you can dive down deeper. If I had any photos or memories, those would be here. The timeline, this is a quick view of it, but we'll get into the actual tab there. And then they have some access to different name meanings that are available here that you can explore. So details is where you can do all of your editing for that individual person. So when you get in here, you have the option to edit pretty much everything that's in here. And when you open up an edit, it does a pop-up. It gives you an opportunity to change your information, and it is always encouraged that when you do a change to provide your reason for the information that you've adjusted it to, and why it's correct. If it's something that's really obvious, you don't necessarily have to, but it is helpful for others who might be working on this same person. You can see all of the sources that verify this individual's name that have been attached. And you can always tag more sources or untag sources that you don't think apply to this particular field here. And then you can save your changes. And like I said, you can do that with pretty much everything here. Alternatives names is a really handy one, especially because a lot of documents don't always show the name spelled as intended. So if you have any alternate spellings or nicknames or married names that might be useful, you can always add those to the alternate names section. And it has a few options like also known as, birth name, married name, or nickname. And you can choose that to help delineate the different names that a person could go by. And that'll help not only you, but other people searching for the background information for that person. You also have residencies here, as well as any locations of events. So this one, like, for example, there's a custom event called the military draft registration. So any records that do have a location on them, it's great to add them here so that you can have reference to kind of help map out where that person lived. You can also add facts. I haven't ever done that one before, but this one you can get into like some details of like, you know, for a fact this person had no children, or you could write down a physical description. You can also get into some other details that go beyond the standard vital information for that person. So those are available in there. All right, any questions that I can address?
Things are looking good in the chat.
Awesome, fabulous. So in the sources, these are all of the sources that are attached to the record of this person. This is actually a good place to go and check every once in a while, because you'll see this little warning pop up here. This source has not been attached to all people found in the record. So this record that it's attached to has additional people that may or may not be related to this person. With census records, this can vary greatly depending on if maybe there were hired help that lived in the house, or if the person happened to be at school at the time. Like for my grandmother, she was a nurse. And so for one of her census records, she's listed with a whole bunch of fellow student nurses that were of absolutely no relation to her. But you can go in and finish attaching those records and making sure that everyone that is a part of your family is accounted for. So that's a handy place to kind of check in and see if you've made sure that all the people that are related are in fact connected. Collaboration. So this is one of the ways that I mentioned you could work with others. If you happen to be in a highly active tree, like you've got a lot of family members working on it, or others are highly involved with it, they can add their notes here, and you can also add discussion here to talk about your research and maybe pinch points that you are having and dealing with figuring out details, and they can come in here and check back on that. A good way to get notifications for that sort of stuff is to follow a person. So if you're trying to flesh out an individual, you can select to follow a person, and then when you come up here to following, they'll be included in a list, and you'll get kind of focused notifications when changes happen to that person's record. Memories are basically, it's an area to keep anything that's not of importance as far as vital information is concerned, but may have significance and meaning to you from a family history perspective. So this is a great place to put family photos, to put any details, like if you happen to have a story about, you know, crazy Uncle Joe and how he used to go fishing with his bare hands, you could write the story out, or you could even do an audio recording. If you happen to have a living relative, you could have them do some audio recordings to save to their memories and get those captured before they pass and you don't have that opportunity anymore. So memories is where all of that stuff is located. And this is what the landing page draws from when it populates that feed that you saw at the beginning of memories from different people that are on your family tree. And then timeline is kind of a fun way to look at a person's life. You can see where they lived, and it also puts it in the perspective of historical events of the time. So for example, this relative was born in the same year as the Summer Olympics were hosted in St. Louis, Missouri. And so they have information like that, as well as major life events such as death of a parent, death of a sibling, marriages, changes in residence, and it's kind of all mapped out here nicely on the timeline, and a physical map as well. You can see where events occurred on that map. So it's just kind of a nice little feature to put a person's life into context. So any questions about the person tab up here?
Nothing so far. It's looking good.
Fabulous. Okay, so recent honestly just covers the people that you've recently looked at. It's a extended view of the same thing that you find on your landing page. So if you're neck deep in the middle of searching, you don't have to go back to that landing page. You can just go to the recent one and either type the name or ID. Speaking of, I should have probably mentioned that ID is the unique identifying number provided to each person's profile. So I even have my own personal ID here, and handily enough, they've made it so that you can just click on it and automatically copies the ID. You don't have to remember that series of string of numbers and letters, or write it down on a piece of paper. Just clicking on it will copy it so that you can put it into any field when you're looking for them. There's also a full page to view your recent ones if you wanted to, but it's just an expanded scroll that you can see. And you can see where it says private person, because I'm still living, versus public person, a person that has a death date. And you'll see that noted on your list as well. Find will give you the option to search within the others' family trees. This is similar to a search option that we have up here, and I'll show you that in a moment. Following, like I said, this is the list of people that you are actively following, and it'll show you changes that have occurred with that person. I don't unfortunately have anyone that shows changes, but they do have recommended people that you can select up here that maybe would be a little more exciting than the ones that I have. And then you can see your personal contributions. This one's kind of fun because it does show you all of the different things that you have done as far as working with different records. So this is a handy list, and you can also search by name of the person, and you can also view by person rather than all changes. So that's a handy little thing to see what you've been up to. So that's all of that for the family tree drop-down menu. We'll move over to the search one. So this is where you start getting into searching the records for your various family members. So you have the option to search records, which these are the available records that are digitized. Now, not all of these records have been indexed. Many of them you do have to visually search for your ancestors' names. These are the records that if you do opt to help out with indexing, you'll be actually going through and putting that information in so people can see what the names are on these documents in an indexed record file. And I'll actually go ahead and open that up so we can see a search real quick. Let's see. Let's do Lano. I can't remember her last name. Was it Freeman? So you have the option of putting the first, and if you do happen to have a middle name, you can put that in here to help narrow it down, and then the last name. If you have a place, it can be any general place and birth year, but you can also get into more specifics of a birth, marriage, residence, or death date that you can work with here, and you can put multiple things in here. You do want to keep in mind that the more information you put in here, the more narrowing your results will be, which can be beneficial, but it could also weed out options where maybe they miswrote the date or maybe they misspelled the place, that sort of thing. So you may want to play with how much information you put in here. You can also add known family members and other records that you might want to look through specifically. And then when you hit search, you have the search information over here, which you can tweak as you need to, and then redo the search. And then you have the responses over here, or the results, not the responses. You can see I ended up with having just used the name, well over 200,000 results. So that could be a lot of work to work through. This gives you kind of a brief overview of what's in that record, and you can hover over it, I believe. No, maybe not. You can see we've got view possible tree matches here as an icon. You can also view the image directly, the record. This one has an indexed record, so you can see a typed out version of the information, or you can look at the record specifically. And then you can also see the record details, which are the indexed details. If I click on it, it'll open it up. You see an image of the record. This is the indexed information here, as well as connecting people. You can see if I wanted to attach this to my tree, I'd have the option here. And you can see similarly related records here. You have your source information here, so the document information, the folder and image number, and that's specific to the family search database. The collection it's a part of, and then if you wanted to cite your sources, this is where you can get the citation right here, and you can even hit copy and it will copy it nicely for you to the clipboard. You can save your source to your source box up here. You can share it if you're collaborating with people, and you can actually edit it. So if you happen to know that a person's name is spelled incorrectly, or you can see that the person who indexed it did it incorrectly, you can edit some of them. Not all of them have the option to do that, but this is going to get into much more detail, but I just wanted to show you that is an option. You can get into helping correct indexing errors. You don't have to just accept it. But that is for a more complicated and more detailed class than today. So as I mentioned, there are some records that you can only see the indexed information for, and you wouldn't be able to see the record itself. And that limitation is based on contractual agreements between Family Search and the holders of those records. So it's not anything that unfortunately the library has control over. So we have to go with what we get. But based off of those agreements that they've written up on, hey, I'll give you access to these documents, but only these people can get to it, that can determine whether or not you can have to come into the library itself or even go look into visiting one of the family search centers. And I think that covers all of that particular focus. Another search that you can do is an image search. So pop that open here. And this is looking through the historical images. These images basically are all of the unindexed records that exist. You can only search by place. Well, they have a few more options. They have date and life events that you can use to kind of narrow them down. But because they are not indexed, you're going to have to do a lot of legwork on your own to explore through the images. But this is a great place to get into if you're hitting roadblocks on the indexed records. The family tree tab here, this is the same one as what was available under the family tree drop down here and find. It's the same search. So when you search for an individual here, it will look through the shared tree for existing ancestors or existing people. So that is an option, especially if you know that you're getting into a family tree that might be well researched. This is a good place to go to. Genealogies is searching through existing family trees as well, but these are ones that aren't specifically on family search. They're ones that have been shared with family search through either individuals that have shared them or organizations that have shared them. And so you can use these as a great way to compare your branches on your tree to ones that may be potentially out there to help get maybe names for further down the line that you don't have, and that you can do more research to verify that they actually do connect to your tree. So this is another option for furthering your search. Catalog gives you access to looking through their basically all of the material that Family Search has, including their physical items that are not online. So this is a good place to do some searching for maybe those hard to find options that are out there. It includes books, online materials, microfilm, microfiche. It's items that have been published and are compiled from a lot of secondary and tertiary sources. Oh, that's a mouthful. So they are separate because they are processed and published in different formats than the records that you find on the record search. And, oh, sorry, I was mixing those up. The catalog is not online material. Books is the published materials. So any materials that have like family history. So if you've got a important family member that's done a lot of digging and has like background stories that have mapped out the traveling of your family from the East Coast to the West Coast and those sorts of things that have been published in books, you can find that through the digital library. My apologies for mixing that up. I looked at the wrong line as I was talking. So these are the published books that are out there, whereas your catalog is going to typically be first level sources. And then the wiki, if it will load. Wow, it's not loading. That's great. There it goes. So the wiki is a great way to access guides related to searching for genealogy. So say you're very used to doing genealogy searches in North America, but you have family members that come from Asia. You can hop on here and do some exploring of articles that they have about best practices in doing your research in those specific areas, because every country does record keeping their own way. And so it can get very confusing very fast. And these can be a great way to kind of get your bearings in getting into those local areas of research. All right. I think that covers all that. Oh, and they did recently add, sorry, I almost forgot. This is a newer one. I don't know how much newer, but added within the last year or so. You can do cemetery searches. So if you know the name or location of a cemetery for a family member, you can search here, also search for their name and get details for that here. So that can be another way to further explore family members, especially if you have a specific family member that you know was buried in a cemetery. You can see what other family members that share that name happen to be buried in the same cemetery, because you do tend to have a common practice of family members all being buried in a shared cemetery. So that's a good way to open a few doors there as well. And we've got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to have to expedite this. Okay. There's a lot on here, I'm not going to lie. So memories is kind of a quick one we'll just look at. You have a gallery of any memories that you've added. As you can see, I haven't added any memories, so there's not much to look at, but you can organize your memories here. You can bookmark them. You can make little albums. You can make it easy to review. If you've got like a collection of photos from a family reunion, you can keep those here. You can also look for people that you know that are family members. They'll give you suggestions here, and you can actually tailor what's shown to you by choosing different options here. And you can see ones that are available, and then you can also search within all of the memories that exist on family search to see if you recognize faces, or have a look and further your search. You can search by text and you can search by topic tags. That's a way to kind of explore more. All right, and then finally, we're getting into kind of more of the less focused on you areas. Get involved. This is where I was talking about helping out with the indexing. We click on overview, it kind of gives you an overview of what opportunities exist out there. You can help review names and try to decipher all the fabulous handwriting out there. And assist with that. You can get the app to help out so that you can do that on the go. Instead of doing that Wordle every single day, you can decide to help index. There's also a few other activities that you can do, verifying place names, and then they've got volunteer opportunities that you can explore. And then finally, this is what I would call the fluff part of genealogy here. These are different activities that you can enjoy with your family. Some of them are pretty silly, like they've got the famous relatives. And these are all supposedly people that I'm directly related to. Now, I do have a disclaimer for this. These relationships are, they could be supported by sources, they could not. The various trees that they're referring to relies on Family Search patron community to do their due diligence and attach verified sources to profiles, and that may or may not be the case. So you may have attached yourself to a person that you have fully verified, but then somebody else has attached other profiles to that aren't verified, and you can end up with all sorts of crazy stuff. But hey, I'd love to believe that I am related to all of these fabulous presidents. And you can click on it and it'll show you how you're related through the various lines. So like Diana, Princess of Wales, is my 11th cousin, according to this lovely chart here. You can click on it to drag all the way back and see the relationship. Now, very nebulous in that there's not even a mother attributed to this particular relationship, but you can have some fun with that. Okay, so we have explored all of our tabs here. Does anyone have any particular questions as far as researching goes? Of course, just the basics, or building your tree or anything like that that we can answer now in our last 8 minutes of our program.
There's nothing immediate in the chat, but
Okay.
Trey has been answering some questions in the question and answer. So
Oh,
I don't know
but
if I don't know if anyone else can see those. If that's all
they
the chat can.
they
Okay.
should show up unless you specify to talk to specifically that person. Well, then
All right.
while we're looking here, I can show you a few things. So you have a few icons on this George Washington Young here. One of them is alternative spouses for Evelyn Louise Faulkner. So this is just showing that Miss Evelyn had either remarried or had divorced and then married George. So you can see that noted there. And then there's also this is the icon for when you have those hints that I mentioned, the research hints that might need reviewing. So we've got a Social Security record that popped up, and let's go ahead and open that up so we can see. So if I wanted to, I could view the record directly, and that would actually show me a digital version of the record. I can also look at the indexed information here. So this particular record was for Otis B. Young, who is George's son, and it clarifies that up here at the top. And you can see that it has the name as well as any alternative names usually are listed here, birth dates, birthplace. And so you can see how helpful this is to flesh out, like if you knew a relative, but you didn't know what their mother's name was, that'd be available there and you can see that. These links will open up the record from that particular person's side of things, and you can see that. This one I'd have to research further because it mentions that the mother's name is Sina Fortner. And as far as I know, that is not accurate. So I'd have to definitely explore whether or not this is the same person. And you can do that by reviewing and deciding whether or not you want to attach it. And when you do that, it'll bring up this little window here for attaching historical records to your family tree. And you can see, oh, well, or maybe it'll have a minor breakdown. Okay, there we go. You can see the information that's in the record and compare it to the information that you have on hand in your family tree and decide if they match. You can also look here and say, well, that's obviously not the same. And that might warrant some further research. And then this would be the one that we're actually wanting to compare because it's his record, but you could look down there as well. If there's any additional family members or others on the record, they'll be listed down here. And you can actually drag and move people around. So like if you had, say, two, well, like example here, we have two Catherines in here. We have Catherine Alberta Young and Catherine Young. This could have been a shared record that needs to be figured out and dealt with, or they could have had a daughter that didn't live very long. And so you could always drag, if this one said like Catherine and you knew which Catherine it applied to, you could change that because the website does its best to put it in the right spot, but sometimes it does need some finessing. And when you have decided that it is a match, then you'd hit attach and that source would be attached to that person. And you do need to do it for each person that's listed in the family. So there's that. You can also at the time add it to a source box. So if it's one that you know you're going to want to refer back to, you can tap that there and it would add it to your source box. So you could look back at it. So that's attaching a record. See, is there anything else worthwhile to share? The biggest thing is honestly just get on here and explore. That's my biggest recommendation because the more you play around with it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. There are options to change your layout and other tools that you can use down here. They will do their best to notify when there's a possible duplicate of records because sometimes two people are working on different branches of the family tree and they make the exact same person and that branch is where it should be meeting up, but because of conflicting information, it's not quite matched up. And you can deal with those when you come across them here. You can merge those duplicates when you deal with ones that it recognizes, those will be here. If you know of one that exists that it hasn't flagged, you can deal with that through this tool here. And like I said, you always want to verify the reasons why you've decided that these two records are the same, because once you merge them, it gets rid of whichever record you decide is going to be absorbed into the main record that you're working with. And any record that multiple people have worked on, you can't just straight up delete. It will not allow you to do that. But if you have created a record and realized, oh, hey, there's a record that already exists and nobody else has had a chance to work on it, you can delete it and get rid of it before it gets messy. All right, well, we've got 2 more minutes left. Is there anything else I can help out with here today?
There was one question in the Q&A. It says, what type of additional info is accessed in the library version?
We actually don't get, well, I don't have a list of the specific resources. I need to find an example because there have been times where I've opened it up and it's been like, this one is not accessible to you. I don't know which categories. I'll need to look that up. Because honestly, with most of the searching I've done here, I have not encountered a record that I wasn't able to look at the original scan of the document.
Let me answer. I can answer that.
Ah, you've got it right. Thank you.
I think I know what they're referring to. I'm sorry for whoever I'm answering a question to in the Q&A. I'll be back to your answer in just a sec. But a lot of times, if you see something that, and you're at home in Family Search, and you see something that it looks like it's obviously has a digitized version of something, but it shows something's not available or only available at the a Family Search Center. I forget the exact wording. I'm sorry. We are now our level of membership. So if you come to any of the Plano Public Libraries on one of the public computers and you access and log in with a Family Search, there may be a very good chance that with our new kind of status, that digital image that was not visible remotely from home may be now accessible because we have that different little tier now. I can't tell you what records would be and what would not be. It's a case by case with the Family Search because it's individual documents and their access rights.
Yeah. The different collections that they've been given access to, they have to make contracts with the holders of those records. And so depending on what that record holder has stipulated gives us access. So
that may answer your question. That may be what you were referring to there. And I'll get back to typing my answer to this other person. Sorry, back on it.
But in a nutshell, we don't have a formal list of the ones that we don't specifically have access to, or the ones that we have access to that people who are accessing from home don't have access to. We don't have like a, what would you call it? A resource list of specifically what is available and what's not. But it does tell you what level of access you need if you encounter one of those types of resources. So if you find one and it says you can't access the digital version of this resource, it'll tell you whether or not you need to go to a library affiliate or if you need to go to a resource, a Family Search Center. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right, we are at the end of our hour. Like I said, there's a lot to cover in here. We just glazed across the surface. If you have any questions pertaining to specific research that you need assistance with or particular barriers that you encounter when using any of our resources that we have, like Family Search, you are welcome to do a Book a Genealogy Librarian. That is a 30-minute one-on-one assistance that we can provide. And you can either come into the library to do that, or it is optional to do virtual, but we do love seeing you in person if you feel comfortable doing so. The other option, as we said earlier, is you can always email our genealogy@plano.gov. That is our shared genealogy team email. And one of us will reach out to you and figure out the best way to answer your question for you. I hope you found this class to be very informative and got excited about utilizing this tool. It's been a lot of fun. I've had all sorts of crazy things that I've found. It's a great way to explore your family tree and to work with others in exploring your family tree. So thank you for your time and appreciate having you here.
Did I answer everyone's questions in the Q&A or the chat? I'm scared I missed one. I was trying to go back and make sure I got everything answered correctly to the right person.
The challenge is real. Let's see. It doesn't look like any are opened. It looks like all have been answered. So we should be good. Again, if your answer either didn't go through, didn't make sense, or didn't meet your needs, please email us and we will be glad to help you. All right. Y'all have a good night.